And like that, like magic, we are live on the internet. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. So I don't know. So you said you're not a Raiders fan, but are the Raiders winning? I don't know anything about football.
I don't think they are.
You don't, is that normal?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they are.
Like the Dolphins?
They're doing pretty bad.
Gotcha. I don't follow any sports except for MMA, which I don't even consider a sport, but, I do know that the Dolphins are always terrible. That's the one, not even following football. I'm just confident all the time that the Dolphins suck. So, our sad football team down here. So how is it going up in North Carolina? Did you guys survive the storm all right?
Yeah, we had some flooding a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is, I wasn't really expecting that, but we're so far in, so I didn't think we were going to get anything. But one room flooded about 3 inches.
Wow.
So that was not fun because we just replaced the carpet about a month ago.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah, I figured we were far enough in that we weren't going to get any.
Right, because you're pretty far west, right?
Yeah, it's like 4 hours from the ocean.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we still got flooding, but we got a lot of rain.
Yeah, I bet.
And there were some roads that kind of not collapsed, but started to come apart.
So did it land like directly east of where you are?
It kind of, well, it's somewhat bypassed us. It just got us with rain.
Okay.
The big part, there were like the cities next to us got some pretty good wind, but we didn't. It kind of bypassed us on the wind part, but we got the rain.
Gotcha. And even that was enough to make you flood.
Yep. Yep. And we have an older house too, so it's kind of sunk in the ground, so it doesn't help the foundation and all that.
No, that usually
filled
doesn't
our
help.
pool up real nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to actually dump the pool a little bit so that we could take the rain in.
Wow.
So.
Do you guys have any like rivers or canals or anything nearby that contribute to that, or was it just all rain?
Nope, just rain.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah, I live a few minutes away from the ocean, so whenever there's a hurricane, it's, which is probably 2-3 times a year for me down in Florida. We're right here in Hurricane Alley. It's always a concern that there's going to be, flooding and we're going to lose a roof. Again, I lost a roof in Hurricane Francis, maybe. I forget which one it was. Ivan, one of them. One of them took my roof off, and I've had a new one ever since, but it's been all right. But yeah, hurricanes, man. They're, I will take hurricanes over what you did in California, though. I'll take a, once a year hurricane over earthquakes and fires and, all the stuff.
California is always on fire.
Yeah.
Always on fire. It's just so hot. It's dry heat.
Right.
Everything's dead. I was surprised when we moved here. We didn't need a sprinkler in our yard because
you don't need a sprinkler?
In California, it's all dry and you have to have sprinklers.
We have sprinklers.
And here, I'm looking at this live cam. Here, it's moisture and stuff, so the grass is always green. You don't need a sprinkler.
Wow.
In California, it looked like hay if you didn't have the sprinkler.
Yeah, same.
So
I'm in Florida. It's pretty humid here. Same thing, though. If you don't have sprinklers, your grass dies.
Yeah. It was very, we could get up to like 120 degrees in California.
Wow.
And dry heat.
And you were in Northern California.
Mm-hmm. Northern California.
So do you?
I was born in right outside of Stockton. And then we moved up towards my mom's. It's like Stockton, Modesto.
Yeah.
Tracy, Sacramento.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been all up and down I-5.
I only know California geography because of Lifesaver Pool Fence dealers. So my idea of California is directly connected to where we have a dealer. So we have somebody in Sacramento, so I know that. And then we've got somebody in San Jose, so I know he's like southwest of him, kind of. And then we've got somebody in Bakersfield and Fresno, so that's up, a little south of them. And then obviously Los Angeles, and then Mr. John Ford in San Diego, he's down there. So yeah, my whole California geography is based on where dealers are. If we don't have a dealer there, I don't know it exists. It's off my map,
Yep. Yeah, we were northern. I remember when I was little, when I was like 12, my parents were separated, and they would actually send me on Greyhound to go visit the other one.
Wow.
Like I would go on the bus back in the day when you could stick your kid on a bus and send them off.
Could you imagine doing that to your kid now?
Huh?
Could you imagine doing that for your kid now? No.
No. I wouldn't even probably put my 17-year-old on a bus. But I did it. I went from South California, or southern to northern. Went through Sacramento, had a layover, and then got to my mom's.
And you did that without a cell phone?
Without a cell phone. Yeah, we used payphones.
Right? So, I mean, that means if you got in trouble, you couldn't even use a cell phone to call for help.
No.
Right? That's crazy, isn't it?
We had to fend for ourselves back then.
Yeah, at 12 years old.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, and I think now if you do send a kid on a bus, I think they have to have like a paid chaperone or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I used to ride my chair to school in middle school, and it wasn't close. Like, I mean, it was within 5 miles, but you know, I was still riding 5 miles in my chair to school each day, you know, and back, obviously. And now I can't imagine seeing a 11-year-old in a wheelchair on Congress Avenue, you know, on the way to middle school. It doesn't seem likely, you know? Yeah. But,
yeah. My mom said if she was raising kids today, she'd probably been arrested already.
Yeah.
Things she allowed us to do. She used to tell us to ride or go on the railroad tracks, follow them to the store and get milk and come back. We would actually buy her milk and cigarettes.
Nice.
And come back following the railroad track. And I would never do that now. Totally different time.
And then the things that weren't safe back then, right? You know, you would tell your kids never to get in a car with strangers, right? But now you think it's much stranger or much more dangerous for your kid to drive than for her to get into a car with a stranger on an Uber app, right? You think it's way safer for her to use an Uber to get from A to B than for her to go out with her friends and have her 16-year-old friend drive, right?
Right.
You know, did you ever think there would be a time where you'd be like, you know what? I think it's safer for my 16-year-old to get into a car with a stranger and have them drive her.
No. There's a lot of things that are definitely weird these days.
But now it is, right?
Yeah. Well, I actually pick up, I do Ubering on my lunch. So
that's cool.
I actually pick up a kid, a 7th grader.
Yeah.
On lunch.
So he's a consistent route every day?
Yep. The parent doesn't hire me as Uber. She just knows I'm Uber. So
now she knows
that I'm cleared and, you know, everything you have to do to go through Uber to be a driver. She knows I am an Uber driver. She just hires me on the side and pays me cash through PayPal or, you know, pays me through PayPal.
Yeah.
So, I go pick them up because I don't think you're allowed to, like the school doesn't allow Uber to come pick you up in middle school.
Okay.
Like they can't. So they kind of regulate it a little bit. So she just found me on a mom's group and everybody was like, oh, Miss Darlene does Uber. You got to call her. So,
what made you decide to do Uber?
Extra income on the off season.
Okay.
Because I'm out of the water. In the summer, I'm in the water about 10 hours a day, like all day. Right. And now I have about 4-hour lunch break. So I was like, well,
why not?
While I'm running errands and stuff, I'll just Uber. So it brings in some extra cash. So
I always thought it'd be fun.
It is.
Like I always wanted to do it, not for the extra money necessarily. I just thought it'd be cool to do. I don't know. I'm weird, but
I've met some very interesting people, and I haven't met any bad crowd. People are like, "Oh, you got to be be very careful. You need to buy a gun or buy a stun gun or something." And I haven't had any issues. Not one. They're very interesting. Like they'll talk about their background, and I'll learn all kinds of stuff about them. Take them to the airport.
And for you, I have a friend who's a business consultant. I think he spoke at the conference he went to. Don the Idea Guy. You know Don the Idea Guy? Yeah. Don the Idea Guy is an Uber driver, and he uses it to promote his business. So he's got on the back of the chair that they're, the back of his chair, so the chair they're looking at, he's got a little brochure holder, and he's got like ideas up or whatever, and business cards back there, and
that's actually a good idea. I have a wrap on my car, which
that
definitely advertises.
Yeah, for sure.
But I didn't think about the back of the seat. I definitely should get that.
Yeah. So he kind of, brings, it's there. So people bring it up, like, what do you do? And, he gives his little spiel, and, most people don't own businesses. They can hire him, but some do. Yeah. But a lot of people have kids and a lot of people have pools. So I think, that'd be a good idea for you.
Yep. I definitely, it's almost every single person that gets in my car talks about the wrap. So it always comes up. And then I usually give out a card, and I've gotten clients from that, which is pretty cool.
So there you go. I mean, you're making money through the Uber, but you're probably even better. You're advertising the ISR.
Yeah. Well, and like when people say anything about the like not doing it because it could be dangerous, there's a lot of things. I mean, if I just like when I went to Africa, people, not everybody, but I had some comments. Well, why are you going to Africa? You got to be really safe. You know, you shouldn't be going. I'm like, if I lived my life scared, I would never do anything.
Right.
Like,
And the Africa we see in movies is not real life Africa, right? I mean, we see all these, I've seen anyways, a lot of these African kind of PSA videos where they show, you know, this is the Africa we see on TV. Yeah. And then this is real Africa. And it looks like New York and LA and Sacramento, you know, the big cities and, you know, modern infrastructure and, you know, all the stuff you'd expect in a first world country. So why did you go to Africa?
We started a global dual outreach. So I had actually originally I had started a Facebook group. So it was like for just education. And I intended it to just be like our community and my families and people I was teaching. And I was just wanting to get information out. And when I talk to people, I get so much information all at once and I kind of just flood them. So it's just too much and people aren't taking it in. So I was like, well, maybe I'll start a group and then just post education, little tips here and there, so that it's just gradually in there and it's not just bombarded. And people were sharing with their friends out of state, some out of country. So it ended up being a global page, which I wasn't expecting. And so that was kind of weird. So I just kind of have gone with the flow. So somebody contacted me from Africa and asked us to come help with their swim program. And I was just like, that's okay. Well, if I have the money, if we can raise it, then we'll go. And I really wasn't expecting to raise the money, and we did, which was cool. So we went and taught 109 adults and 300 children. Out
of curiosity, for anybody else who's doing a nonprofit right now, how did you raise the money?
I just asked.
Oh, okay.
When I didn't actually know what I was doing. So I didn't have the foundation yet. So I just asked my swim parents.
Okay.
So I just said, hey, I want to go to Africa. And if you guys want to help me. And like 2 months before the deadline, all the money just came in. It was
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. So it was just personal donations, paid for the flight, paid for everything. But we taught 109 adults and 300 children, which was really cool. I would say only about 5% were comfortable in the water and could swim-ish. Everybody else had no idea about buoyancy, breath control, nothing. Because they don't really, where I was at, they don't really swim recreationally. Mm-hmm. So they just don't have a lot of experience in the water. So like they just had actually where we were near Tanzania, they had a ferry capsize and it had like 700 people in it. And almost all of them have died because of sheer lack of swim skills for one, but the ferry was over capacity, which is common there. They don't really have the regulations to keep it in place. There was just a suggested capacity. Right. So it was overloaded for sure. And that's happened many, many, many times. But people could be surviving these things if they could swim. So it's really sad. And like when I've talked to Nathan, I think you said Scholl with he was on your show with the International Water Safety Foundation.
He's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love him. And I love his energy. I've talked to him on the phone numerous times. He was very, very pleased to see that we actually brought one back. We brought Jimmy back. Mm-hmm. And he stayed for 6 months and learned water safety and CPR and lifeguarding. And so he's back in Uganda now, and he's working with the Uganda Life Saving Federation to get trainings out. So he's got skills that he can share with them now. And I don't have to go back over there and train because I brought somebody here and shared my stuff. So it's pretty cool. The only thing I didn't share was the infants because that's with ISR and there's all kinds of regulations on that. So he learned American Red Cross, which was pretty cool. And he had a blast. He actually played for a soccer team while he was here.
Nice.
Which was pretty cool.
How long was he here for?
6 months.
Wow, that's a long time.
So yeah, we kind of adopted him. But he was. Yeah,
I saw he used your last name on Facebook now, right?
Yes. People kept asking me about that. He wanted an American name.
Okay. I joked when I saw his name. I was like, I'm guessing his name isn't Jimmy either, by the way.
No, it's Jimmy.
Is it really?
So his name's Waswa, Jimmy.
Okay.
So Jimmy's his name and his middle name. A lot of them there have American middle names. So like there's Muvioni, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Joseph. And
Gotcha.
then Francis was one of them. But they have different, like I can't even say his name. I want to say Sudoku, but it's not right. A lot of their names start with double S's.
Okay.
In that area that we were at where they speak like Swahili. So they, depending on their tribe, they're named by their tribe. So, but they have usually a first name and then like an American name and then their last name, which is pretty cool.
Do they do that deliberately? So
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what the story is with that, but a lot of them have George William Muska. I can't even say half their names, but his name's George. I go by George. And then there's Justin, but they all have African names. Like that's just their middle name. It's really weird.
Interesting. Yeah, so, I know. I thought it was kind of like, and I'm wrong apparently. I know in China and other Asian countries, in school they pick an American name to use, and if they come in contact with an American through business or in life, they have this American name that they use. Like a fake name essentially, because they know we can't pronounce their names. So, I deal with a Bob and a Mike, and there was an Eric at one point, and I'm like, I know your name's not really Bob. Like, I'm really sure about that, Yeah. Well,
so, this is actually on his birth certificate, his passport.
That's cool.
It's his middle name. So, so we call him Jimmy because a lot of people can't pronounce the Waswa.
Right.
So, his name's Waswa, and then his last name's Nsale.
Nsale.
It's hard to say, but we just call him Jimmy.
Yeah.
And everybody loved him. The families loved him. The kids loved him. He did it. So what we did was we brought him, and when he learned everything, he also did an outreach for us. So in the summer, we did a summer outreach for people that can't afford the regular lessons that are 7 and up. They could learn to swim and float and jump in and dive and get toys and just be water safe. So they had like a 2-week training. Mm-hmm. And if they wanted to sign up for 2 more weeks, they could. And a lot of them ended up signing up for 4 and 6 weeks. And they ended up really loving Jimmy. So it was a good program. So we had an outreach here, which helped our community. And then he went back and now he's helping his community.
And how old is he?
He's 18.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's why we called it the global dual outreach, because we're helping both us and them. So
nice. And how was he selected from?
He was actually one of the ones that we kept in contact with. And so he was one of the ones that just kept contacting us and kept in communication. A lot of the other ones kind of fell back a little bit. And then I had 5 that we had selected to come, and 4 got denied their visas. Oh. It's very, very hard to get the visa to come to America.
Probably harder now than it was probably at one point.
Yeah. And I think he got in right at the cutoff. Like, I think
gotcha.
Something's going on government wise. So he got in before they did. They tried about a month later and they were all denied, which really sucks because they pay all the money. They travel into the town to do the embassy interview. They do all the process. It's about $300, I'd say. Yeah. Get a hotel or motel, get a suit to look nice. Transport is not easy. So, and they have to where they came from, they had to ride get to ferry and drive into town 2 hours.
And plus the emotional investment and,
and they all got denied except for Jimmy. So that's actually why he was the only one that got to come. So now we have an application process, and those 4 are on our application. So if they want to try again, they can, but I don't know if it's going to work or not. But they're out all that money from the first one. So they're not eager to go and pay it all again.
Right. Yeah, they've already tried and failed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because money's a little tight there, and they don't make, I guess, they all kind of think we're wealthy here, which not all of us are wealthy, but they just kind of see America as wealthy.
Well, and there's relative wealth too,
Yeah. So they make about, and I've tried to talk to them and figure out how that works, but they don't make more than 10 a day or something, 5 a day.
Mhm.
So they live on limited resources. But when you're there, you realize that it's not that bad because all their stuff is cheaper. Like their food
Right.
is cheaper and their transport's cheaper and everything. The only thing that's weird that's not cheaper is electronics. Like if you get a cell phone, it's exactly the same price or more than it is here. Or a TV or something. Anything electronic is our prices, which
because they're imported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but food is good, and I really like the way that they eat fresh fruit, fresh meats. I love that, and I love their community feel. They're very community oriented. I really like that. I miss Africa. I wouldn't mind to go back. I'm actually supposed to be going to South Africa next year.
Yeah.
And then I might make a trip up to Uganda again. We'll see.
Why South Africa?
Durban, South Africa is the World Drowning Conference in 2019.
Okay. Very nice.
In October, I believe. So making plans to attend that. Tony Torrigia, I think is how you say his name, out of Canada. He wants me to speak specifically about the global dual outreach. But that's a big conference. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. But he's been a big resource, Tony, and all the different organizations. I was actually going to tell you, I think Carrie had talked to you last week about Parents Preventing Childhood Drowning group that just came up. So they wanted me to mention it because like when I started with the water safety and training and all that, and learning more and more and being shocked like everybody else, like drowning is the number one cause of death. How is this even possible? I didn't know. And then all the layers, I never knew any of this. I was in aquatics for 20 plus years on the side. Like I did teaching. I did early childhood education, grant writing, open to daycare, stuff like that. But on the side, I would go to the local city pool or whatever, and I would lifeguard and swim lessons for like a couple hours. So I was always kind of like a hobby. I just liked it, just for fun. And but I never knew ever that this was an issue until I got into ISR and drowning prevention, and that kind of everything's rolled since there. But I've learned through like Abby's Hope, Colin's Hope, Jack Helbig Memorial Foundation, Because of Braden, Live Like Jake, all these ones you always hear about on Facebook. You know, so I've just pulled information, Pool Safely, all of
the Families United to Prevent Drowning groups, essentially. You know?
Yes, essentially, yeah. And then that one. But Pool Safely, Josh the Otter, all those things. So I've pulled all this information together. And then when we talked about bringing together that, well, actually with Nicole Hughes being on CBS and the Today Show and all that with Levi's Legacy, we band together, her and 3-4 organizations started and I'm one of them for Hand in Hand Water Safety, started Parents Preventing Childhood Drowning. So we're trying to bring the whole nationwide together as parents and organizations and individuals, just to have one unified message about drowning and prevention and water safety and stuff like that. So we have one brochure that can go across the United States, one message, one thing of layers. And there's gaps. So what I essentially see out of it is there's gaps. Like I have my Hand in Hand Water Safety here that hits maybe 100 miles, I guess. And then there's Live Like Jake in Florida, and it hits their, all these different groups hit their little areas, but we're missing areas. So like in North Carolina, we're missing a big chunk that's not getting any information. Mm-hmm. So with this program and this group going on, we can fill that gap. So people in different areas can get these pamphlets and get this information out, not having to start an organization or do all this stuff. They just can order it and bring it in and get it out there. So I think that's going to help educate the community more. Yeah.
And hopefully, you guys can, take lessons from the national organizations that exist already. There's pros and cons to them. There's obviously the National Drowning Prevention Alliance out there. Yep. That they've been doing great work for, almost 20 years now. Yep. They've got their big conference every year. It's going to be in New Orleans this time. I might go to that. There's Water Safety USA, which is learning from exactly what you're saying about staying on message. Their whole thing is once a year they pick a message, and then all of their member organizations, which include Pool Safely, Consumer Product Safety Commission, American Red Cross, the Boy Scouts, the National Parks and Rec, a bunch of other ones. They pick one thing. I think last year it was Learn to Swim. I forget what it is this year. It might still be that I'm doing this year. They pick one thing and they try and, make sure that all of their organizations are, on message. Yep. You've got Families United, obviously, Families United to Prevent Drowning, which is, Josh Yoder and Colin's Hope and Abby's Hope and Just Against Children Drowning and all the other, family foundations that started after they lost somebody who kind of banded together to make a, one national organization, so you need those things, they're important. So I'm sure that, Parents to Prevent Drowning will join the fold, and I'm sure it'll be awesome,
Yeah. Yeah. We just need, I don't know how else to reach. I guess, with Richard Kaufman, he's got a good idea. He's just it needs to be marketed like a business, which makes sense. Because why do we care about water safety? I can't believe I am still shocked that it's the number one cause of death, and I didn't know it. And it's shocking to me that everybody I tell, almost every single person I tell, is like, no, that's not right. I'm like,
right.
It's actually, it's just, it's not out there. There's not commercials on it. Apparently there was one commercial, on Super Bowl.
Yeah, there was from the insurance company.
Yeah, I heard it was not a good.
No, I liked it.
Well,
your audio just cut out, by the way.
Oh.
You're back. You're good.
Okay.
I don't know. They had
good feedback on it.
You should go watch it. They had a website that went with it, and
I saw the video, and I can see what was the good parts that you thought?
I'd have to see it again, but I remember thinking, this is, at least for the Super Bowl, this is better than we've had before.
Yeah. And I've never seen one before, so it was good.
And I especially remember liking the website behind it that had the information on it. I thought the site they made was really good, and
I didn't actually see that part of it. I just saw the commercial.
Yeah, I went to the site they were advertising, and it was really well done. So
okay. I think that if the commercial would have had education in it, it would have been better, because then the parents would have got something educational out of it, but it was just a boy talking about all the things he's not going to do because he drowned.
Right.
That's all it did. It didn't say, this is the layers you can take to, protect your child.
But as you said, most people don't know that drowning is the number one accidental killer of kids between 1 and 4. Yep. So, if you start with that, the fact that people aren't even aware, right? And, you've got 30 seconds to make that point. Yeah. Do you have time to, go through layers of protection? Maybe, but maybe more importantly is make sure people leave that 30-second gap when they're eating nachos, they're telling their friends to bring them another beer, and, that maybe they get a piece of that, and they, they leave at least with that message, enough to go check out the website where they can, get information and,
the link I saw with the video, I didn't see any additional website, so I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, I forget the name of the insurance company actually, which is terrible. But
Nationwide, I believe.
Yeah, so if you go to the Nationwide pool safety or water safety page, they did a really good job. They got the layers of protection.
And that was in 2015, and there hasn't been one since.
Right, and the other commercials that used to air not during the Super Bowl were those Pool Safely ads.
I haven't seen them they were on TV.
I think they aired on TV. Some, back when they came out.
on Facebook.
Yeah, those are great. Those videos are amazing. Those might be the best pool safety videos, and I include my own in that we have. I'm a big fan of my animated one.
Yours is by far the best one I've seen.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah,
the one that just tells it's so informational, and it's eye catching, and you watch the whole thing. And it's not too long. I share that all the time.
It's not scary, which was hard. It's hard to do. I didn't want to make it scary. And,
it was really good. And actually, I had put a poll online about pool, because you on your video it says something about pool fences and guns, like what could kill your kid.
Sure.
What's more dangerous, and that more kids get hurt by pools than guns.
Oh, not just more, 100 times more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was it was very, the whole thing was just, I like that video the best out of any video I've seen. So I share that a lot. But when I put the poll online about what would you rather, if a person had a gun or a pool at their house, which house would you let them go to? And almost everybody said they would let them go to the pool and not the house with the gun. And I was just like, and they're like, but guns are more dangerous. Yeah, but most of the time they're put up and out of the way. The pool is right there and accessible. So, and attractive to kids. They're going to try to get in it. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to access a gun.
Yeah. And we even said, if your kid gets a gun, right, and it's loaded and pulls the trigger, where the bullet goes is uncertain, right? Yeah. But if a toddler crawls into the backyard and falls in the pool, only one thing happens, right? There's only one result to that occurrence. Yeah. That stat came from a book called Freakonomics, which has a bunch of like interesting statistics you might not expect. And they had a whole chapter on that. And I thought that was really cool. Way back in 2007, I think maybe. But great book too, by the way. But it was really interesting. But yeah, so that stat came from there, and I've used it, all the time. And unfortunately, since guns have become part of our political debate, people see that part of the video and it gets clouded, I've been using that video since we made it in 2014, and it still holds up. It seems like, I
posted quite a bit. I actually posted it I linked it to that poll so people could see it after they made their vote.
Nice.
But another thing I tell people is, or one of the comments actually on that poll was they would let their kid go if they could swim. If they can swim, there's no problem. And I was like, well, there's other factors. They could jump, they could fall and bust their head and, or there's something. I mean, you still don't want them to go with, swimming skills. The other thing was if your kid's swimming, how do you know someone's not going to hold them, like they get scared and they, I had a mom call me and say that she needed her 10-year-old in the swim lessons because he almost drowned and he almost drowned his friend who was a good swimmer. Wow. Because he panicked and hung on to him and drug them both down. So you could be a good swimmer all you want, but if you're stuck on somebody that's panicking, you're probably not gonna have a good result there. But she didn't want him in lessons, or she's just never thought about it because they don't have a pool, they don't go in the water, they don't go on vacations with pools, nothing. Like, they're not aquatic people. So she never put him in lessons, and she never realized that was, going to be an issue until the family called and said, your kid almost drowned my kid.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, I need to get in lessons. But so there's all kinds of things you have to think about with that. Just because your kid can swim doesn't mean you should let them go swim in a neighbor's pool. And then how much water's around you. So I have people that don't come to lessons because I don't have a pool. So they, like that lady, I don't have a pool, or we don't go a lot, whatever. So what was I going to say about that? There's always going to be a time when you need lessons. I'm totally blanking on what I was going to say on that.
No, but I mean, we were talking about how most parents don't realize, the severity of the issue. And, you've been surprised in the years you've been doing it. I mean, I started doing this 20 years ago, and I figured by now for sure we would, that people would be aware of it, right? If I've been beating this drum for 20 years, apparently I've been doing a bad job because it's still nobody knows,
Yeah. One of my friends from the gym that I teach out of was an ISR instructor in the 80s in Ohio. And she gave me, and I have it somewhere, but she gave me her handbook from her training from ISR. It was really awesome that in most of 99% of the information was exactly what I was taught. So the training hasn't changed much at all. Which is really good. The other thing that I learned that I wasn't very happy about was that 25, 30 years ago, the drowning statistic was still the number one cause. Yeah. I was just like, okay, why aren't we making an impact? This is
So when I first started, Life Savers started in 1989, and I took over in 2002. Drowning was the number one cause of death in a lot of states, Florida, Arizona, Texas, California, but was the number 2 nationwide, and second to car accidents. Now it's number 1 nationwide also. Yeah. So it's gotten worse, or I think car accidents got better actually, but still, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know here where, and I know like in different areas, parents do different things and whatever. Here we have a ton of puddle jumpers. Just, it's convenient to stick your kid in a puddle jumper and you're on the side of the pool watching. And a lot of these parents think that they're going to hear. For an example, we saw a mom, and it's common to see. We saw a kid that was like 3 or 4. And she's in a puddle jumper and she's swimming all over the pool. And I was looking at her through the window like in between lessons. And I just seen her swimming all over. And I looked to kind of see, you know, who's the parent. And you couldn't attach a parent. Like I was like, who's actually, like no one's looking at her. So I watched her for about 2 minutes. And she went from like the middle of the pool through under the little line to go to the deep end. I went towards the deep end, was just swimming in the deep end. Still nobody. I was just like, okay. And then I see a lady from like the stairs on the way other side of the pool stand up and look over the edge and like look and then get back down. So it was her mom. I'm like, so that's not effective supervision. It was like 2 minutes plus before she even looked. So if she would have fallen out of it or anything could have happened. And I know I sound like I'm over crazy about it, but that's
you're the appropriate amount. Yeah.
A ton of stuff could happen with that. I'm like, it's not okay. So that's one problem.
Your kid's swimming in a death trap. You know, you should be watching them, you know?
Yeah. But the parents just think that those are safe. They're safety. And they're convenient. They don't have to be right there holding them because they can't swim. I'm like, if they can't swim, they should be in the kiddie pool that's 2 feet deep. And you should stand right there with them or in the splash pad. But if they can't touch and they can't swim, then they shouldn't be in the deep pool. That's just, unless you're going to be in there with them.
Right. And they should be lessons.
Yeah. Or swimming lessons or helping them get, teaching them stuff or whatever. But they shouldn't just be floating around.
Right.
In the little floaty. But we had gone live about that. Well, not about that, but it came up with puddle jumpers. And a lady that Rebecca Ware Robinson knows in the UK had commented, I can't remember her name, Debbie, I think it was. And she said that she wanted to know what a puddle jumper was. So we had showed her a picture and she was like, oh, we don't have those at all here. Like they just don't have them. I'm like, oh, so it's just an America thing or, and actually I don't see those a lot anywhere but America. So I think it maybe is.
It might be, there were water wings when I was a kid, right? Yeah. And I think as popular as they are, I think there's a wave of people realizing how bad they are. Yeah. I think because the people who don't like them are so anti puddle jumper. So it's, in every organization, like from the NDPA to you guys to Josh Yoder to Collins, everyone universally agrees that these things are bad, right? Yeah. So because of Facebook and social media, I think a lot more parents than 20 years ago realize that these things are a no-no, Yeah.
You have to, and I try to explain, but I have to have the parent there listening to actually get across. But I actually thought about doing like a before and after. So I had a mom that knew about me. Her friends took my lessons with their kids, whatever, and she still wasn't coming. But she was kind of starting to think about it. And then I said, hey, you come, you bring your 2 kids. I'm going to put them in the water and we're going to let them swim because they always wear puddle jumpers. And I said, the little boy that's 4 said he could swim. He's like, I could swim. And I was, okay, well, let's get your puddle jumper off and let's swim to the wall. And we videoed him. And of course, he went straight under and just treaded and was underwater. So I picked him up and we had a talk and he's like, I can't swim. And I'm like, no, you can't swim. But he thought he could. He didn't realize that the puddle jumper was actually keeping him up.
Right.
So mom was shocked. He was shocked. Everybody was shocked. She was in the net lessons the next week. And now he swims and floats all over the place and doesn't touch the floaty anymore. But it took that realization. She had to see it. The mom had to see that this is what's going to happen if your child gets in the water. He has no skills. He has no breath control, no understanding of his own buoyancy. He's treading. because he's been in the puddle jumper and just doing the treading movements. And now he's repeating that because that's all he knows. So yeah, now he swims all over. His 2-year-old brother was the same way. So went underwater, didn't do anything. And now both of them swim and float all over the place. And the mom couldn't be happier. So it was nice to bring that in. And now we have like a before and an after. But she had to see that. She wasn't going to enroll. And then, yeah, once she saw that, she's like, okay, I need to enroll.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I wish parents could see that. If they saw that, they would absolutely enroll. You have to skill the child on top of the supervision, the fence gates, alarms, in case they make it to the water. But some people, like you said many times, parents think, well, I watch my kid. It's not going to happen on my watch. We all have jobs. We all have to cook. We all have, well, a lot of them have multiple kids. I had 4 kids, so I totally get it. And we all try our best. It's not like we try to lose them or, they just get out. I had my son who's 20 now. I lost him at a Six Flags, and that sucked for about 15 minutes, but I about died.
Right.
And the same thing, I was looking at a map. We were just wandering around, and I looked at a map for a second, and I look down, I pull the map up, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go. And then I'm looking, and he's gone. And I'm like, looking, there's a million people.
Right.
I'm panicking. I have no idea which way to go. And then I'm thinking, he's been kidnapped. He's going to get killed, whatever. Something's happened to him. So that was a very horrible 15 minutes. But it's like that. After that, we did the little leashes. Yeah. Which, he's 20. So when I did the leashes, people thought that was abuse back in the day. Now they're cute little, bunny backpacks, leash things or whatever. Well, I had like a Sesame Street, like harness leash thing. So, and then I had 4 kids. So I ended up sometimes, if I took them all out, I had them all 4 on leashes. And I would get all kinds of comments, but I'm like, well, I know where my kids are. I know they're not like just going to wander off because they're attached to me.
Right.
So I didn't care because losing them one time.
That's enough.
Was enough. I was like, I don't care. So I've seen cute little things now where like the little shoes squeak or they've got bells on their shoes or something. So when they're walking away, you can hear them walking away.
Right.
So I like those. So, yeah, but that was, fun. So
do you still put the 20-year-old on a leash? Does that still happen?
No, I should, but I don't. Yeah. So now that my kids are older, I'm able to devote more time to this too. So this has definitely come at the right time. Definitely right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you said you've been doing it for only, 4 years or so, but you've done a lot.
ISR, 4 years for ISR.
Yeah.
But I taught for the city pool in California, and then I taught for the YMCA for a total of about 23 years before ISR.
So what made you decide to start doing ISR in particular?
I was teaching at the Y, and I had quite a few parents ask me if we taught ISR. Do you offer that here or whatever? And at that time, I had no idea what ISR was. So I went and researched it. And as soon as I saw the Miles video, that famous video was the first thing that popped up. As soon as I saw it, I knew. I'm like, I have to teach this. This is absolutely amazing. So it took me about 2 years to actually get in the program. They don't just take everybody. Right. Yeah. So you have to be selected. You have to go through a process, and then you have to pay the fee, which is not a little fee.
It's pretty substantial.
Yeah. So we have to come up with, there's a lot to jump through. But with any business, it's a business. So with any business, you're going to have to put an investment in. So, I mean, if you think about it that way, it's not a bad price actually. But compared to just becoming a Y instructor or a city instructor, it's like $300. Right. So it's much more expensive, but it's much more detailed. You're dealing with children, little children, and actually teaching them skills to get to their own independent float. So it is a much more detailed program, and the cost does make sense once you actually go through it and see it all. And I've been doing it for 4 years, and I can support the family on it. So it's not
right. It's working.
Not bad. Yeah. But I knew that there was going to be, especially in our area, there was going to be a need for scholarships. So as soon as before I even trained, I knew we were going to need scholarships. So I knew when I first started that I needed to start a foundation, but I didn't know how to really. I've been part of foundations and I've wrote grants, but I've never started a foundation myself. So I just kind of researched things. I just got it launched last year. And we have about 50 volunteers, which is pretty cool. So, because I'm pretty passionate about what I do, and everybody can see it. So everybody just kind of inspired by it and they want to help. And now people are coming to me just because they hear about it and they're like, I got to help you. This is something we need to do. So pretty cool what's happened in the last 4 years. But we had at least 5 drowning deaths within 50 miles this summer. I know 2 of the families personally now. And there might be more than that, but you don't hear about them. I don't know why we don't really hear about them. But there's a boy that just drowned about 3 weeks ago, and his dad contacted me and wants to help the foundation. He wants to really hit on autism, because his son was autistic.
And the stats for kids who drown with autism are staggering. They're amazing.
Yeah, I think they're the highest risk.
It is, and it's something close to, over 80% of children who wander off end up drowning. I mean, it's something ridiculous. It's so high.
Yeah, he that's what he did. He got out the door and wandered around, and he was in the pond of the grandparents, I believe. And they were looking for him, and then they called for like a search party, and
right.
So he was in the water. And he had a twin, so a 4-year-old twin, but he was the only one that got out. So the 4-year-old and the 1-year-old should be in lessons with me. If not this year, they'll be next year.
Oh, cool.
And they're going to take part of the Live Like Jake. They have a Live Like Jake scholarship that pays for that. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And then I like your guys' fence. I haven't got any yet on the fences, but with your guys' free fence for
the Save a Life program. Yeah.
I did have one lady that was looking at it, but she didn't have the need for the fence, so she didn't actually end up getting it. But those are really good programs that mean something. Yeah, we try and do it with Live Like Jake a lot too.
If Live Like Jake is donating lessons to a family, then they kind of automatically qualify for the fence. Which so I'm hoping Carrie starts letting people know about both. A little more. Yeah, I push it out there. This family, I don't think the parents have a pool, but the pond. I asked them if they could get the pool or the pond fence, and I think that's probably not. Yeah. So I was like, okay. So, but yeah, I think it's autism and boys are the highest risk. I don't know why it's boys. Are they more adventurous? Yeah, boys tend to go out more. They're a little more risk averse, or not risk averse, the other way around. So yeah, boys tend to drown at a higher rate than the girls. That's been the case since I've been doing it for 20 years. Yeah, that's crazy. So just getting education, and then our Hand in Hand Foundation does. We actually are starting. One of the little boys that drowned here in town was 7 and just had no swimming skills, and he was in the deep end. So, and I haven't been able to specifically talk to the mom about it in detail, because she's definitely struggling with the whole thing. That happened in June. But the school that he went to wants to start a pilot program. So they want to bring kids to me to learn to swim and float and whatever else, probably 5 and 6 up. Which is cool, because a lot of the programs I've seen that are attached to schools with the school curriculum are 2nd and up. And that almost, to me, defeats the purpose. Because most kids who drown before under 5 years old. Yeah. So I'm like, well, we got to kind of get them a little younger. The 4-year-olds, the only thing we can really do, because they can't bust them out. There's a lot of security issues with the 4-year-olds, I guess. And they're in Head Start, not actually school yet. They can give them vouchers. So we can raise money for the parents to get vouchers, and the parents can bring them to ISR. But then the older children would be American Red Cross, and they can be bussed out. So we're working on those details. And then once we have that pilot program ran for about a year, then we'll
bring it and show other schools and try to get a lot of the schools on board. So we have a lot of things going on.
Yeah. You're kind of a one-stop shop, right? You've got the ISR going, and then you recently started doing lifesaver pool fence with your husband, right? Which is cool.
Yeah.
And you've done a few fences at this point, right? A decent number. Six.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad for out of season in North Carolina, you know?
Yeah. I was actually surprised we've had that many so far. That was the other thing too. Like I tell parents to check Google Earth. So if they don't have a pool, I just say they can get out of their house and there could be a pond that you don't know of. Yeah. Or which I didn't do my own advice. I figured I knew most of the pools, and I don't have young kids. So I'm like, same thing. I'm like, oh, I don't need to worry about doing it myself. Right. So I was out giving little hangers out. I actually made some door hangers for Lifesaver.
Nice.
And then on the back is our foundation layers.
Very cool.
So it's all about educating as well. So I was giving these out and I was on Google Earth and there was probably 50 pools, which people are always telling me we don't have that many pools or that much water in North Carolina.
Yeah, malarkey.
Not compared to Florida.
Right.
In 2 miles, there was 50 pools.
Right.
Which really did shock me. And then the one thing that really shocked me was we have a lake within 2 miles. And I didn't know that. It's like a big pond. But it's called Walker's Lake on the Google Earth.
Okay.
And it's when we were driving past that area, there was like 9 houses right on it. And then on the other side, there was like 8. So right in their backyard is this big, huge pond. Or lake, I guess. But I just I've been here for 9 years and I had no idea that huge body of water was right there. I was very shocked myself. So I'm like, okay, now it's very important. You need to, parents probably have no idea that that's there. I had no idea that that was there. So that's eye-opening if you really think about it. You don't even know you should look there if your kid lives anywhere near there. Right. It could wander over to that area.
Plus the 50 pools.
Yeah, and the 50 pools, which I was very shocked that we had that many pools. But
yeah, I mean, if you only focused on doing pools within a 2-mile radius, that would keep you busy doing pool fences for a year, you know?
Yeah. So we did. It's kind of time consuming to get those door hangers out, but I did get a bunch out.
We used to do a door hanger every time we installed a fence. We would do one for the next door neighbors and across the street.
Okay.
And the door hanger said, we just made your neighbor's pool safer, you know, ask them about their pool fence.
Yeah.
And it was a cool.
So, yeah. So I don't know who all, I can't tell. I figured I would target the pools, like whoever had a pool.
That works. But my brother did that. He had a pool service and he drove around with his girlfriend and she had the Google Earth out and he would go put a door hanger on every house in a neighborhood that had a pool for his pool service. And it worked really well for him. Yeah. He literally started a whole business from door hangers. So
I think having the Safe Swim NC and all the families, because we have over 1,000 families, that is in itself is marketing. So we haven't done too bad. So I think next year is going to beef up a little bit. But right now we don't have anybody because it is going into the slow season.
Right.
So, but we knew that going in. So we're just kind of going to different networking events and whatever. So just
and it seems like William and your son seem to enjoy installing it.
Yes. And my son is a carpenter, so he is very, very, very handy. And he's ADHD, so he's very hyper. So he's all over drilling everything, and he has to make sure everything's perfect. So he's a good worker.
Nice.
He's a good worker for it. But yeah, so 3 of the fences were families that I already have. And then 3 more were just people that have contacted us through our website or
leads or whatever.
Facebook or something. Yeah. So we have the CRM that you guys helped set up. We have that set up. So everything's ready administration wise to handle a load when we get it. I'm hoping next year, I'm pretty sure next year is going to be bigger. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the more pools you can fence off, the safer North Carolina is, right?
Well, and I was talking to a realtor because we were looking at building a facility or buying one and upfitting it next year or the year after for swimming. We were going to do swimming and CrossFit, actually. So we're looking at a partnership right now. But the realtor was asking me about the fences. My husband and I were both there. And like, how are they different? Like, he's like, is it a specialty fence or why? If you can just sell fences, I mean, it must be good or whatever. So we explained, like, it's the mesh and not like a lot of ones you see around the pools are going to be wrought iron,
right,
or wood. But usually I see wrought iron. But I'm like, your kids can just climb right through wrought iron. So the mesh is unclimbable, and then there's all the safety features with the latch and the key, and I like the way you can't stand on that little piece.
Yeah. The hinge has a 45 degree. Yep.
So I did a video on it, and I get kind of nervous on doing them, but I did the video and I forgot like 3 things. I was like, dang it. But it was a pretty good video on like the gate and the little hooks.
It was good.
Yeah. So it had like how to use the hooks and the little solar lights. I was actually, when my husband turned the camera around after showing the fence, I was going to talk about the mesh and show the mesh, and then like how the poles are removable and this and that. But I totally like spaced and like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
So I'll have to do another video. But a lot of people liked it and shared it.
Yeah, no, it's a good video. And yeah, I mean, the difference between the wrought iron and a pool fence like the Lifesaver pool fence is, it's not the wrought iron's fault. Wrought iron isn't designed to be a safety fence.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the big difference is the Lifesaver pool fence is specifically designed for one purpose, and that's to keep kids under 5 years old from getting to the pool. So everything about it is made with that in mind, right? The mesh, the way that you can't lift it out of the ground, the way that the moldings are sanded down so there's no sharp edges, the slip cap on the hinges, the latch that's way up high, the key lockable, everything about it is designed to keep kids out. So that makes a big difference when it's designed with that purpose in mind,
Yeah. So people here don't understand that difference because they've never really thought about having a safety fence. So they're like, well, why is it different than a wrought iron? So I have to explain that stuff. Or a lot of families that have a pool think that because their yard is fenced, they're fine. But that's it. Like, I'm like, that's not all of it.
That's good for your neighbors.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't protect you.
Yeah. Your neighbor's kids are great. Your kids, not so much,
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's a few families that I know that really need one, but it's ugly. I know one of them is ugly. They think it's ugly, so they won't do it. But I was like, well, So there's a fence, and I know Paul DeMello would get kind of upset if he saw the picture, but I took a picture of a house about a mile, I guess, from me, and it has an above ground pool, and it's right on like the side of their house with no fence at all. And we live in an older neighborhood with older kids, but there's going to be grandkids, there's going to be cousins, people are going to come over. So every time I'm jogging by, I'm like, ugh. So I need to stop by and throw a door hanger on their door, but
yeah, for sure.
But there's no fence at all, nothing.
That's so crazy.
So I'm like, okay. And I didn't know if we had a law in North Carolina. And I've talked to Marcia Kerr, I think her name is, about it. And there is a law, but it's not actually, when I was looking for it, it wasn't under like North Carolina laws, like it's just government law. It was under building codes. So it's actually, as you build your house, there's a code for pool fences. And it's either or, you can do alarms or a fence, not both. You don't have to do both. But it does say a 4-sided enclosure.
Yeah. So, I know our former dealer in North Carolina fought really hard to get that in there. So,
good. It was really passed in 2010 or 12, I think.
Yeah. I think, that's probably about when he finished, but
I don't think it's like fully enforced though.
Probably.
But it is there. And it doesn't do retroactive. So anybody before that date doesn't have
is grandfathered into it. Yeah. Marcia Kerr is great. Her and her then husband, Bill Kerr, were our first ever Lifesaver pool fence dealers back in 1991 in California. And they're great people. So
I met her daughter. That's how I met her. Her daughter was at the training with us. So, and then she said her mom was the one that got the signs on the bucket.
Yep.
like they said, don't let your,
Yeah.
pocket safety. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So we talk here and there. She's pretty cool. We were trying to get an association going here, because of Braden did in South Carolina.
Sure.
But it's a process to get these things going.
Yeah, it is.
So eventually we'll have one. We just have to have a lot more people think that this is important around here. And we are getting there, but it's been 4 years. So it's like looking back, we've made a lot of progress, but we still have a lot of progress to make. So we'll still keep doing it. I'm pretty persistent, so it'll happen. Just got to convince people that this is important.
Well, you're doing good work between the nonprofit, the stuff you're doing in Africa is fantastic. Yeah. The pool fences, obviously, I'm a fan of, and the swim lessons. I think you're checking all the boxes. Yeah. So, I'm sure that, there's people alive that wouldn't be right now, which it's a cool thing to think about,
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Cool
and I have lessons in like 30 minutes. So I better run. But
yeah, I was going to say, is there anything you want to let people know before we wrap up here?
No. You can check out our website.
Yes.
handinhandwatersafety.org is our main website. And then definitely check out Parents Preventing Childhood Drowning.
Yes.
And then I like to, what is that one? The Families United. That is a good, I like that resource. And then just all the different programs. I just follow a ton of programs and I try to get the most current, useful statistical information out there. So I have facts to give my families. So we don't put anything on our site or on Facebook unless we've really researched it and made sure this is correct information.
Right.
So, but yeah, definitely the website for sure.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye. Enjoy your lesson. Have a great day. Goodbye, everyone.